Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we are in for the next lesson 2.4, the fall of Troy. This is a synopsis, this is a summary of a very huge or very large or very enormous story of the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire of that time. It is on 900 BC, that's approximately 2920 years before this particular year. This story's name is The Fall of Troy. Troy is the name of a city, and it has different types of names in different books, in different standard. It is also known as the Trojan horse, or it is also known as the War of Troy. So it has different names in accordance with different standard, but the story remains the same. It is a very lengthy story because it is a war between the Troy and the Greek, and it lasted for 10 whole years in that way. It is a very simple story. There ain't much difficult words in the lesson, and it is just like we have our own Indian stories or the myth and mythology of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. They are really very lengthy, two epics of Indian culture, and same way the Western world has also different epics. They are known as the Iliads and the Odyssey. So let's start off with the lesson. There are two parts in this lesson. We'll go slowly and steadily, and we'll do it in such a manner so that you understand the complete story, which is given in a synopsis manner out here, in a summary manner. Obviously 10 years of war between the Greek and the Troy is a very lengthy story, but here it has been written in a summary form, in a synopsis form, like you had your lesson 1.2, a synopsis, the Swiss Family Robinson. Same way the Fall of Troy is also a summary, a synopsis, in the same manner. So let's begin the lesson. The meanings are on the board. If you yet have doubts regarding any word, any sentence, any line that you have not understood, you're most welcome to ask me as and when you require, and I'm available 24/7 round the clock. The Fall of Troy, part 1, page 40. Always keep your textbook open and your pencils in your hand to write down the meanings as and when said by me during this particular lecture, apart from what the meanings are given on the board. Epics are long poems that relate the deeds of a great national hero or a great national war. Epics are very long stories, which are stories in the form of poem or poem in the form of stories, either way around, and they are obviously of great personalities, great leaders, national heroes, or wars between the nations of various countries in that form. They often tell of a nation's early history. They may be composed and sung or recited for many years before they are actually written down. Obviously epics are something which are oral, which are passed from generation to generation next, and because of its movement from generation to generation, it is done orally, finally, unless and until it is written down into that particular nation's language in that case. That is why it is known as epic. First it is in the oral form, then when it has been finalized, the true fact of history, then it comes to be as written down, and then we know it as an epic. In India, obviously, there are two major epics. The two famous Sanskrit epics. Sanskrit is the name of a language, which is one of the oldest language of India. Sanskrit epic are the Ramayana, read as Ramayana and written as Ramayana. Same way the Mahabharata, read as Mahabharata and written as Mahabharata. Obviously they ain't English words, so they are written in the italic forms in that way. And the two great epics of European literature written in ancient Greek are the Iliads and the Odysseys. Obviously the Iliads and the Odysseys are two Western cultured epics. That's why it is written of European literature. India stands in the Asian continent or Asia continent, and the Greek and the Troy come into the continent of Europe. That is why it is given as European literature, not of Indian literature of the continent of Asia. It is of the continent of Europe, therefore it is written as European literature. The Iliads and the Odyssey. Just as in Indian literature we go back to stories from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, so in the literature of Western countries they go back to the Iliad and the Odyssey. Just as all children all over the country India know the names of the stories of Ram and Sita, Yudhishthir and Arjun, Draupadi, so children in Western countries know the names of Hector, Odysseus, Achilles, Helen of Troy. That means we people recognize people of glamour world, famous world, who are in the dramatic field, who are in the song field, in the picturizing field, in the story form, in the documentaries. You may be recognizing many of the heroes and heroines of India, the glamour world, from the large screen, from the two-dimensional screens, from the three-dimensional screen, and your TV screens also, the idiot box that tells you much more about the complete world on one two-dimensional screen, the idiot box. So same way you people know many names of many various child artists or senior artists or character role artists, all this way. Same way children of the European countries or European literature or the European continent, they know their own heroes of the Western countries, namely as Hector, Odysseus, Achilles and Helen of Troy. Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world, because of whom the Greek and the Trojans fought for 10 long years. That means this story of the fall of Troy or the Trojan people or the Trojan horse is just based on one female, one lady, one beautiful woman. Her name is Helen, and she is supposed to be the world's most beautiful woman, and the Greek and the Troys fought over just this female, and finally what happens or what succumbs to Troy or to Greek will come to know at the end of the lesson. If I open up the climax now for you, you will say that sir has already given out the complete story, so there's no meaning in looking at the video out here, and it would be just meaningless for me to explain for such a long period of time and wasting my energy, wasting my time, wasting all my fruits of life into you people, into making your brain and drill up in that manner. Any questions in the first two paragraphs of yours? You're most welcome to call me, chat with me. You can ask me. Whenever you ask me a question, remember you give me the complete sentence, the name of the lesson, so that I can refer to it in case if I know I have the book, well and good. If I don't have the book, I will yet give you the answer as and whenever you call me. But remember to first tell your own complete name, secondly the name of the lesson, and then read the complete statement, the complete sentence, so that I understand what you are talking about, so that I can give you the complete meaning in a particular way, in a particular manner, so that you do understand it in such a way, in a better way for you to converse, for you to communicate, and for you to write it down as and when you require it in such a manner. Any questions, anybody? You're most welcome to ask me round the clock. Nobody knows for certain who the author of these epics are. Obviously, now these are really epics of very olden time, very old parts of history. That is why no one knows who the author is, who the narrator is, who is the person who has written such type of stories. It is thought that they arose and developed with the nation itself, and we handed down from singer to singer till perhaps one great poet gave them their final form. It is true, obviously, the Iliad and the Odysseys, or the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, who has written this long epics, these long poems, or long songs, or long recitals in such a manner. Obviously, it was handed over from mouth to mouth, or oral to oral, and just passed on from generation to generation next, just by singing it, unless and until someone gave it into a final form. And let's see who has done the final touches of it and put it in the written form. Now we've done up with your first 3 paragraphs. In that way, today's lecture I end out here. If you have doubts, if you have any queries, you can call me round the clock, and in such a way, Jazakallah, thank you